Hi everyone, it's Dave here. I hope you're good. I'm out on my daily walk today. Lovely still, quite cool day. Cool late April day, but it's very nice. And this is part 4 of my mini series called Years of Insanity. Because let's face it, the world is insane. And this one, part 4, is on the topic of anger. Controlling, managing and channeling anger, to use anger constructively rather than destructively. So another interesting topic I've talked. There are certain themes and concepts that I always return to. And I have touched on anger, discussed anger, how destructive it can be, but how energizing in a positive way it can be. I've talked about it in a number of videos. And it's strange because we live in a time where we need a little bit more anger. We don't have enough of it. I think that the general perception about anger, that it's a very destructive emotion, is very true. Anger can consume, it can destroy, and it can destroy the person who's angry, and the person who's angry can destroy the lives of others, can destroy the world around them. If it's not understood properly, if the anger is in control. So that is all true. However, anger is also a crucial aspect in the personality of anybody who is wanting to be a force for good in the world, in my opinion. Because to be angry is to be human. To be human is to be connected, is to be in tune with our environments, with ourselves, with nature and with others. And the more and more I see of large sections of society, I do question whether they're more robots than human, which brings me to the word apathy. Because the apathy, I've got a plant here that's stuck to my shoe. The apathy that I have seen and continue to see with many people is emblematic of a society that has been dumbed down and stripped away of its morality to such a degree that even when that society and that population is stripped away of its human rights, is psychologically terrorized, is robbed of its most basic entitlements, such as bodily autonomy and freedom of speech, that society doesn't get angry. That's what makes me think that widespread apathy, deep apathy, is symbolic of a people who have been almost robbed of their human-like qualities. Might sound extreme, that, but the more I see of the world, the more I think that. Obviously not everybody, but you know the kind of person that I'm talking about. So I've learned over the last couple of years, despite what I said about anger and what it can do, the carnage that it can wreak, and it can. Worse. What's worse, extreme anger or extreme apathy? Extreme apathy. For one reason and one reason only, because anger is driven by an emotion. Anger is driven by a motivation for something wanting something, wanting to get rid of something, wanting to change something. There's some element of human-like quality about it, albeit one that's out of control. Whereas apathy is for me, apathy is the absence of care. It's the absence of awareness. It's the absence of passion. It's the absence of morality. So there's the difference between anger and apathy. We live in an apathetic world whereby too many simply have no awareness or do not care about either their own basic human rights or their children's, even worse. That to me is what I see. That's my perception. So there's the difference there. So I would say if you're going to be angry or apathetic, both are bad. But being apathetic in the face of what's happened to our society is unforgivable and is indicative of an individual who's just empty and soulless. But let's go back to anger, because I want to talk about why anger is necessary, but how we need to direct it and control it and use it at the right times in the most effective way. You know, across a range of scenarios, really. Take a football match, for example. You use anger sparingly in a football match and direct it in the right way at the right time. You know, playing on the edge within the laws of the game, but angrily, in control, can be used very, very, very effectively. And that's the same across a whole range of different examples in life. But obviously this, now what I'm talking about, is in relation to the wholesale changes that have taken place across society with relation to the carnage, death and destruction that's been wrought, orchestrated by psychopaths, implemented and endorsed, accepted and encouraged by the apathetic people that I've just been talking about. Now my example about anger, my own personal example, I'm not really an angry person generally. I'm not. I have a pretty long fuse. When my temper goes, it goes spectacularly. It's quite rare. I used to be very irritable. I'm not anymore. Irritable about the trivialities of life. Anything used to piss me off. It doesn't anymore. The last few years have given me real context and perspective. Much better at just letting life flow and understanding that the things that used to irritate me are real, really. They just don't matter. And I've never really been an angry person. I'm not going to say I've never had angry outbursts. Of course I have. Probably over the last 2 years though, I've reacted, particularly nearer to the start of when the first lockdown started and I woke up to what was going on, reacted angrily when trying to communicate with people who I could see there and then were completely brainwashed and robbed of any ability to conceive of any notions beyond what the government was telling them. You know, a lot of us got to the point where we felt so despairing that we'd turn to anger. You'd end up shouting at people. Again, as time's gone on, I've realised that's not the right approach either. And that we're now at a point whereby those who haven't woken up, and when I say woken up, you know, attempted to change their perception, allowed themselves to change their perception, allowed themselves to hear and listen to the people who've got a different opinion. If people don't see this for what it is now, then they will not wake up. I think I've done videos like this going back about 12 months saying people never wake up. Definitely by now, they will not. They will not wake up. There is literally nothing. There's nothing they won't believe if their government tells them it and their media. And there is nothing that we can say that will cause them to listen. Nothing. So we can either let that make us angry, or we can choose to disregard those people now. After over 2 years, what's the bloody point? They're gone. They're lost. And unfortunately, they are just paving the way to their own demise. I'm sorry, but that's just where we are. We've tried. Now let me talk about a specific example in the last couple of years and bring it back to anger. Because, as many of you will know, October the 18th, 2021, so just a little over 6 months ago, you know, obviously the worst 6 months of my life. Still here, still doing these videos, still cracking on, but you know, it's tough. Anyway, yeah, so my dad died as a direct result of the COVID-19 jab. And you know, for the purposes of YouTube, they can't censor me for that because that is fact. Here's one of the official statistics. Hello horse on the MHRA database. Here's the horse. We'll just pause for a minute. Hello. Hello. I like talking to the animals. You get more sense out of a horse than you do out of most people. Beautiful creatures. Yeah, so a healthy man collapsed and died as a result of a jab. I remember at the time. Now, if that happened to you, how would you? What would be the emotions, the overriding emotions in the early days? Because for me, it was not even grief, because it was shock and anger mixed together. Now that to me is indicative of the fact that I am in tune with my emotions and that I can feel things. I was angry that my dad, perfectly healthy man, died as a result of, I can't say too much about the jab and certain words attached to it, but it was a direct result of that jab, as acknowledged by the UK Health Regulatory Authority, as corrupt as they are. Of course I was angry, of course I was in shock, of course I was deeply angry. Why wouldn't I be? What would be wrong? How fundamentally, morally bereft would the person who's not in shock and anger be? And yet, here I am, all these months later, feeling that as angry as I am, I'm effectively, most of the time, managing it and challenging it, channeling it, can't say that word, and controlling it effectively. And I have to give myself a pat on the back for that. Can't talk today. And what do I see from others? When my dad, when he died, one of the first things I said, I just knew it, could feel it. I knew it. It was the jab that had caused it. Told everyone that. Most people, I'm pretty sure, looked and thought, that fits with Dave's preconceived beliefs relating to the jab. You know, so it's quite, you'd expect him to draw that conclusion. As I say, I'll go this way, so there's a bin lorry down there. Actually, I'll walk this way. So just give me a minute while I walk past this. There'll be a little bit of noise. Only be a minute. You alright? You okay? There you go, hopefully you can hear me now. Yeah, so I was in an uncharted territory, the death, close and sudden and criminal death of a loved one. How are you going to react? How are you going to react? I was going to say rationally. I did react rationally. You're going to be angry. It's going to tear you apart. You're going to be in a place for a few weeks where you're potentially in danger of letting that anger consume you. And I was, because it nearly did. But isn't that perfectly understandable, considering the circumstances? How are you supposed to process an event like that, the circumstances like that? And what have I seen since from people? So we fast forward a few weeks from when he died, and finally, you know, after much ignoring from the MHRA of our communications and our emails and telephone calls, which was mostly organised by my brother, finally they looked at everything and they came to the inevitable and only conclusion that they possibly could, that the jab caused his death. What was the reaction of those very same people who wouldn't engage? And what continues to be their reaction? I'll tell you what, nothing. Radio silence. So, my dad's died, and we know what caused it, right? Now, I don't care what other people's opinion is. It's their opinion. As ill-informed and insular and stupid as a lot of people's opinions are, who are pro-COVID narrative, that's none of my business. Tell you what is, though, I think it'd be basic human decency to just acknowledge that objective truth and say, I don't even mean, Dave, you were right. Not that. I mean, Dave, that's awful. Or Dave's mum, that's awful. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge what the truth around his death was and is. But people don't do that. 99% of people I know haven't done that. And that's really upsetting. There've even been people who've said things like, it's worth writing off a few people's lives to save others, or all drugs have side effects. That's the devil speaking. That's the devil speaking through things called human beings, or alleged human beings. And as for the others, so I could choose to, every day I think about this, and every day I think about the depths to which humanity has sunk and continues to, where people can't even acknowledge to you a truth about your own father's death. I'm not asking people to agree with me. I'm not asking people to ring me up every 5 minutes and see how I am. I can look after myself. Don't need it. I know the people around me who are with me. I know the people I can rely on, and they know they can rely on me. Don't need that. Don't need them to agree with me. Don't need to talk about it. Nothing. Just a basic one-off. Dave, do you know what? We understand why you were so angry now. We understand, despite what we think about the jab, we understand what you thought, and we understand that despite what we think it was the jab that caused your dad's death, and we understand the effect that could have on you, and we understand how much of a tragedy it is that your dad's no longer with us. I mean, it's not too much to ask, is it? What does it say about people that they can't do that? So I talk about anger, and you can probably detect a little note of anger as I'm talking now, which is fine. And this is what I'm getting to, because we cannot let anger consume us, because it will, and it will then consume all of society. What we have to do is to understand it, let it be, like I do with these videos, like I'm doing it now. I'm letting it be. I'm letting it be. I'm not swearing my head off. I'm not going to go out and start a fight. I'm not going to go someone get pissed. I'm not saying I don't get drunk sometimes, but it's not as a result of being angry. It's just as if I was just like anybody else. But what I'm saying is, I'm not going to go out and wreak destruction. How's that going to help me? How's that going to help the world? How's that going to help my dad's memory? It's not. But we have to be very, very careful, that because I know that those of us who have been really affected by what's gone on in the last couple of years, and I include, even if people haven't suffered themselves or lost loved ones, there are many amazing souls who have seen right from the start what's been going on and have been speaking out and putting themselves at risk, putting their careers at risk, being isolated by friends and family for speaking out on behalf of others. So it has affected them. For those of us, our job is to keep that flame, keep that fire burning, right, but not let it turn into an inferno. Keep that edge. I often say to people that I like people who've got a bit of an edge about them. They might be a bit of a scoundrel, they might have done stuff they regret, they might be a reformed character, they might be very, very deeply imperfect, they might have addictions, that for some reason they're the type who just like that, bang, saw it straight away. Because one thing they're not is apathetic. They're not apathetic. They've seen life. They've made that crucial realization that they will never be perfect, and we don't need to be perfect in order to do good in the world. Keep that edge, keep that fire burning. Keep that anger there, because it's got to be there, but understand it, channel it in the right way. And I think after everything I've been through, that, you know, and my family, and that's not the only aspect of my dad dying, that's not the only aspect of how it's affected us and my family. I'm not even going to go into the other stuff, but I know I'm not alone. There's many of us. But I've realised that real psychological strength and strength of character, above all else, is to not let anger consume you. Regardless of how unjust, unfair and evil the circumstances that pervade your life are. The truest test of character, I'd say even more than standing up and going against the crowd, which is, you know, that's something I did, something that many of us did. That's a test of character. Non-compliance when everyone else is complying, that's a test of character. I found out even more than that is not letting anger take you over. That's a real test of character. And as much as this is a spiritual test, it's also a test of the strength and resolve and depth of our characters. How deep is that well of resolve? Because some of us are getting pushed to the absolute limit. All it's doing is making us stronger. And that's how we've got to do it. By acknowledging the anger, vowing never, ever to become apathetic, like these soulless, robotic automatons, zombies, who I honestly think that if the government told them to, there's a ditch there, they're at the point now, if their government created a program of propaganda for about 2 weeks and said that a particular group of people, you know, who could they be? Brexiteers, the unjabbed, Trump fans, climate deniers. It didn't take a couple of weeks of propaganda. Government say, go and line them up, stick them in a ditch and shoot them in the back of the head. These people would do it. That's just what they're like. It's what they're like. And it's interesting how, you know, looking back in history to historical events that my understanding evolves over time. I always try and look at the history that I try to understand. I try and look at it through an understanding of the human psyche and groupthink and propaganda and the human soul. The lens through which I now look at things such as the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, or the Holocaust, or Pol Pot in Cambodia. Anything though, the witch trials, anything. where an insane idea has taken over a population and led ordinary people who, if told on an individual level, you must do this, this and this, will just laugh at you. But when those around them partake, they will. That lens through which I now look at history is much more clear for me, because I can see it and I've taught a lot about it. So there you go. I'd love you to let me know what you think about this video. This is the last part of the series, as I say. So I don't know what I'll do next, but I'm sure I'll think of something. Share it with anybody. Share it with anyone who you think may be in danger of becoming consumed by their anger. Because possibly what I've said there may help them, I don't know. I'd love to hear your views on anger versus apathy, and what do you agree with, what I've said there, and what do you not agree with. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and I will speak to you very soon. Okay, cheers everyone, bye bye.